The Fourth Voyage of Sinbad the Seaman. Sinbad is visited by some merchants and he wants to go with them on a voyage. They come into a storm and are washed ashore on an island. Here, they find naked people who bring them to their king. They are given food, but Sinbad declines, finding the food horrific. When the savages give the crew something to drink, the crew wants to eat even more. The crew grows bigger and bigger and are led to pastures like cattle. The naked people are a tribe of Magian cannibals whose king is a ghoul. They leave Sinbad as he is too lean. Sinbad sets out to go away from the cannibals. A man who is in charge of the pasturing shows him the correct way. Sinbad meets some people gathering pepper grains. They show him the way to the city where he finds out the people ride their horses without saddles. He makes saddles of wood and lets the blacksmiths make stirrups. By doing so, Sinbad earns a lot of respect. He is married to a beautiful lady whom he plans to take with him when he eventually goes back to Baghdad. One day he finds a man weeping. He says his wife has passed away, and now he must join her in the grave as is the custom of the land. They throw the body of the deceased in a great pit. The spouse is lowered in the pit alive with some water and food. Then the pit is closed by a huge rock. Sinbad hopes his wife will not die in this land, but she does. He asks to be excused from the custom as he is not of this land, but he has to respect the culture and is forced into the pit. He explores the pit and spares most of his food and drink. Then a body is thrown into the pit and a woman is lowered. He kills the woman by hitting her on the back of her head with a leg bone. He takes the food and drink and continues killing people this way. Then a wild beast is in the cavern and Sinbad follows him outside through a crevice in the wall. The crack leads him to a beach. He returns to the cavern, and takes as much food and drink and valuables as he can outside. A ship appears, and Sinbad tells them he is a merchant, fearing its crew is of the land with the strange customs. He wants to give the captain pearls, but he declines taking payment from shipwrecked. Finally, after some merchant travels, he comes to Basora and then to Baghdad. Sinbad the landsman is again given 100 dinars and comes back the following day for the next story. The Fifth Voyage of Sinbad the Seaman. Sinbad longs to travel again, so he sets sail with a number of merchants. One day they find a ruka's egg, and they break it open to eat the flesh of the bird within. The parents attack the ship with rocks and the ship is crushed. Sinbad is saved by fortune of Allah and is cast upon a shore. Here he finds an old man at a spring. First he thinks he is from the same as him, but he finds out the man does not talk. He wants to deal with him kindly, for he may be a paralytic and may win a reward in heaven. Sinbad takes the man on his shoulders, but when he wants to lower him, the man grips Sinbad by his shoulders with his legs. Sinbad almost chokes, but the man doesn't let go. Finally, Sinbad ferments some grapes into strong wine, he drinks some and dances around. The man on his neck also wants some of the wine and he gets drunk. Sinbad grabs his legs and hits his head with a stone until he is dead. When Sinbad sits on a beach, a ship comes into sight and its crew explain, after Sinbad told them about the old man, that the man is the Sheikh al-Bahr, or Old Man of the Sea, from whom nobody made it alive. They give Sinbad food and drink, and they come one day to a place called the City of Apes. Here, people go into boats at night to be safe from the apes, which come from the mountains and steal fruit. Sinbad is reminded of the apes from his other voyages. Sinbad gets the assignment to collect pebbles from the beach. He does so, and the pebbles are used to throw at apes. These apes throw fruit back, which the people collect. Sinbad knows to collect cacao nuts this way. He wants to give the nuts to his host, but he declines. Sinbad sets off on a ship that lays anchor near the city. He is allowed to leave and sets off. He trades his nuts for cinnamon, cloves, and pepper. At one island, he asks some pearl divers to dive pearls for him, and they are very lucky and get a lot of pearls for cacao nuts. Then he goes to Basora and continues to Baghdad, where he gives alms and clothes to the widow and the orphan. Then Sinbad calls for food and everybody eats. Sinbad the landsman is given again 100 dinars and comes back the next day. The sixth voyage of Sinbad the Seaman. After forgetting all the suffering, Sinbad yearns to travel again. So he goes along with some merchants. They sell and buy from city to city, but one day, the captain became stressed of grief and rage. They were lost and he did not know where to go to. They crush against a mountain and everything is plunged into the sea. Sinbad comes with some survivors to a peninsula. He walks inland and finds a stream of sweet water. The others are dispersed over the island and become mad of the riches found on the shore. But Sinbad finds rubies, great royal pearls, and other jewels in the stream. Eventually some of the crew die because of famine, and they are washed and buried. Sinbad hopes he would be dead too. When he buries the last of his crew, he begins to travel again. He starts building a raft from Chinese and Comoran aloe woods, and fills it with precious ores and jewels. He comes to an island with a number of Abyssinians and Indians. One of them speaks Arabic. He is brought to the king of Sarandab, and he is most welcome. Sinbad presents the king with the jewels from his raft, and he is accepted and treated with the utmost honor. There is a lofty mountain on the island which contains many kinds of rubies, diamonds, and pearls in its valleys. Sinbad tells the people of Caliph Harun al-Rashid and his rule. The king marvels and wants Sinbad to bring the caliph a present. Sinbad sets off with some merchant. The present is a ruby cup with precious pearls. Sinbad goes to the caliph and tells him of the island and its king. The caliph praises the king. Sinbad also relates his story and then goes home. After the tale, a table is laid out and they eat. Sinbad the landsman gets 100 dinars and returns the next day. The seventh voyage of Sinbad the Seaman. After some time, Sinbad longs to sail the sea and see foreign countries. His ship comes into a storm which blows them to the uttermost of the seas of the world. The sea is called the Sea of the Clime of the King, wherein is the sepulchre of Solomon. They hear a terrible cry and a huge fish appears, and a second more terrible, and a third tries to swallow the ship. After praying, a violent squall of wind blows them onto a great reef, and everything is plunged into the sea. Sinbad sits on a plank of the ship like a horse for 2 days, and then comes to an island. Here, he eats of the fruits and drink of its waters. He finds a great river. Again, he makes a raft and embarks. He comes to a valley with a city of many people. He gets clothes from an old man and brings Sinbad to his home. After 3 days, the sheikh, his host, asks him to go to the beach to collect Sinbad's goods. The sheikh's servants have collected them. Sinbad has no idea what the man is talking about, but he comes along to see what the goods are. The goods appear to be the wood of the raft with which Sinbad arrived. 1,000 dinars is offered, and the sheikh asks Sinbad if he wants to sell it for that price. Sinbad lets the sheikh decide. He asks Sinbad to sell him the wood for 100 dinars more. Sinbad agrees and the wood is stored in the sheikh's warehouse. Some days later, the sheikh offers Sinbad his daughter, and give him all the lands of the sheikh. Sinbad is reluctant because of shame, but eventually he is married. The sheikh one day dies and is buried. The rank is passed on to Sinbad, and he finds out that the townsfolk turn into birds at the beginning of the month, and none remain in the city but the women and children. Sinbad decides to ask them to take him with them next time, but when he does, they are reluctant to do so. He is taken to the heavens, and he hears the angels glorifying God. When the ends is seen, there comes fire from heaven. The company flees from it, curse Sinbad, and put him on a mountain. Sinbad repents of what he did, and 2 young men approach him with each a rod of red gold. They are servants of the Most High Allah abiding in the mountain. They give him a rod of red gold and leave him. When Sinbad goes down the mountain, he finds a serpent holding a man in her jaws. Sinbad smites the serpent with his rod twice. The serpent flees and the man will be Sinbad's servant on this mountain. He meets the people and the man who put him on the mountain, and Sinbad apologizes to him. He is carried back to the city and is brought to his house. His wife tells him the people are brethren of the devils, and know not how to mention the name of Allah Almighty. Her father was not of these devils and she asks Sinbad to go back to his country and take her with him. He sets out to Basora and finds out he had been gone 27 years. Then he vows to Allah never to travel again. Upon ending his story, he tells Sinbad the landsman that his present state is at the cost of those travels. Sinbad the landsman apologizes for envying his wealth. And their friendship didn't cease until they died.